Hey everybody, I'm Ricky Barton and I'm going to talk to you guys about the arrival at the party and the time before the presentation. Now here's the deal. This is a critical time. This is not something you want to overlook in your party prep or even your mindset walking into a party. You want to be intentional in thinking through your arrival and the time right before you do your presentation. And here's the deal. Here's why. To quote my friend Belinda, people want to book parties with people that they want to be friends with. And that is just so true. People want to book parties when they feel like they can relate to you and like you're a fun person and that you're, gonna be fun for their friends to be around. And so taking the time at the beginning of the party before it even starts and getting to know the guests and even the host a little bit better, that's going to pave the way for strong connections during and after the party, like when we ask them to book their own party and have their own friends come to their house to have a party, or when we ask them if they're interested in joining. So Sean did a great job telling us what to take to the party. Not a lot of stuff. We want to keep it simple and concise. We do not want to need to spend 30 to 45 minutes pulling out all of the products that we have and laying them out in this beautiful way. We don't need to do that. You just want to be able to carry things in and set it up in like 5 minutes and be ready to go. So that's very simple. I am really intentional to arrive at my parties 20, but usually closer to 30 minutes ahead of time, because then I can greet the host. I can check in with them and say, hey, how's it going? How's your week been? Kind of have some relational time there. How's your RSVP list? Did you have anybody extra coming tonight? And just check in with her and set up my stuff in just about 5 minutes real quick. And then I jump in to helping set out snacks or drinks or seeing if the host needs help in any way. Sometimes I show up and my host is trying to get her kids fed and also cut the salami and make the lemonade. And I'm like, hey, I'm right here. I'm not doing anything. Let me help you. And that I feel like is just such an important thing, at least for me personally in my value system. I approach these things like I am serving the host and her guests that night. And so I want to do as much as I can just to jump in and be a servant to them and help them in whatever way possible. And I feel like that just also sets the tone with the host that you're her ally and her friend, and just kind of sets the night off in a really, really good way. Then as guests start to arrive, I introduce myself. I start the conversation, with them and start chatting with them. I ask them, what would you like to drink? Can I get you some coffee or can I pour you a lemonade? And just try to be a servant to them as well. I ask them how they know the host. I ask them what they do with their time. How do you spend your time? Do you work? Are you at home? What are some hobbies, right? I'm just trying to have a conversation and get some knowledge about them happening ahead of time. But here's the deal. I want to stress this. Be genuine. Don't sound salesy. Don't make it look like you're digging for information. Just be genuine and relational and have a conversation with them. Very casual, but very intentional. You are wanting to kind of find out, okay, am I talking to somebody who's married to someone who might be in a field where they're dealing with a lot of oil? Then that kind of gets my mind there. Or does someone say, oh, well, I just brought my dogs back from the dog park. Oh, what kind of dogs do you have? Well, now I know that they have dogs and they need the mop for their floor, right? So be intentional to have those conversations with the guests. And some people, it's not that easy to start a conversation with a stranger, but practice. This is a skill that can be learned. I am an extrovert, so it's not hard for me to start a conversation up with a stranger. I'm usually best friends with my waitress at restaurants when I leave. But introverts, that's not as easy, and I get that. So just practice this skill and get used to having that conversation and making conversation with people. So as you're having those conversations, make mental notes in your head, and then later probably go and write those down, like after the party. You want to make mental notes about the people that you're meeting. These will go a long way during the party. Susan, this mop will really help you with those big hairy dogs you have. At checkout, Lacey, did you think about getting one of those bibs for your new baby? And on your follow-up conversations after the party. Hey, Sarah. I hope you're loving the Norwex that you got at Tiffany's party. How's that cleaning paste working on your stovetop? Also, how is the EnviroWand working for your mom and her ceiling fans? This is how I see it. It's my job to bring energy and enthusiasm to the party. People typically show up at parties like not knowing what to expect, and they're usually just kind of there to do a nice thing for their friend or family member. And so I want to instantly kind of catch them off guard by being genuine and relational with them. By them being like, oh, like that's a chick that I'd be friends with, right? Like I'd like to do a party with her. Man, she looks like she'd be awesome to be as like kind of like helping me in this business. I might want to do this business, right? So we are there to bring energy, enthusiasm, of course, knowledge and passion about Norwex, but that will come out once you've sort of built that relationship and they sit down and they're ready to hear your presentation. They're going to be engaged with you because they want to hear what you have to say instead of holding you at arm's length, like, who's this lady, right? Now they know who I am. You know, they might know a little bit more about me too, so they can see that I'm just your average person. There's nothing special about Ricky Barton or about you. I mean, you are special. Please hear me say that. You are special, but not in the sense that they couldn't do this business themselves also. So that arrival and build up to the start of your presentation really is so critical. I highly recommend, if you haven't taken the time to think through how you approach this, I definitely would before you go to your next party so that you can make some tweaks and changes that will help you be just a little bit more of a relational Norwex consultant and help with that relationship down the road. Okay, so part 2, you've arrived, was part 1. You've set up, helped the host, started some chatter with the guests as they trickle in. But then this moment comes where you have to go and sit down, right? Everybody kind of gets a seat. It's time to start. This is part 2, but the conversation doesn't end. You don't want to just walk into that circle and just start sharing Norwex and telling them what they need in their life. You want to continue to build community in that time. I intend to kind of go in, I think ahead of time what questions I want to know, depending on the group. If you know the group really well, it's someone you've done parties for before, you might need to change this up. But at a typical party, I ask them, once they're all kind of circled up and sitting down, I ask them their name, how they know the host, and what their biggest cleaning challenge is. Sometimes I change that up. Like I might ask, how do you know the host and what's your favorite thing about her? Which is really cool because she just gets all bashful and embarrassed as her friends tell her all sorts of sweet and kind things that they love about her. So that's always fun. But I basically am asking each of them to introduce themselves and tell me their biggest cleaning challenge. And while they're doing that, I'm listening. I'm listening for what they're saying they need because we know Norwex has all of these solutions. So when someone says, oh, I can't stand my shower, I hate cleaning the shower, I'm like, sister, I'm with ya. You wait till I get to the descaler, right? And then I get to the descaler and I'm like, hey, do you remember your shower? This is amazing. So you're listening, you're thinking about how you can know their needs and anticipate those. So you remember their name, you remember their need and what they've talked about there. People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that personal relationship is so key. You're investing in people before you invest in their home and their health. And so invest in that relationship, build that relationship as that party starts before you even launch into your presentation. Okay? Well, hopefully this has been helpful. I'm Ricky Barton, and thanks a lot for joining me.